They say the land is sour, and yet here he was, stepping foot onto it. They say people had lost their minds, their lives, or simply were lost within these unnamed woods. And yet, here he was, tempting fate and time. He knew the stories. He was told the tale of two aged people who had lived in this forest. The woman disappeared, and the lonely old man had taken his own life. Then the two young lovers who had disappeared. Their home and business were destroyed in the name of love. And finally, the man who went mad in those woods and killed his friends, doctor, and even his wife, in the name of amnesiac madness. But the people who perished by the hand of disease nearby, and of the young ones who melted away by God-born chemistry, those same woods had threads of webbing strumming in and out of those tales, and vibrating, calling to him to come and visit, to come and discover if there were any secrets to be found here. The tales, of course, were, as far as he could tell, false. No evidence suggested a hotel existed near here or ever had. No schoolyard became a horror show of apocalyptic chemical warfare. No township was nearby that suffered the revival of the smallpox. And no evidence corroborated the tragedy in any of the local hospitals. But still, it called to him, and he came. After parking his car along the rather well-maintained road, another indication that the wood was not deprived of human interactions, he walked the New England woods with gusto, intent to stay at least one night, despite his wife's playful pleas that he stayed home. He could see in memory her beautiful face, with those bright, shattered glass eyes pouting away at his departure, remembering as she pressed her hands to her slowly swelling belly, as if to further guilt him. She was, after all, some 14 weeks pregnant with their first, and yet that attempt to pull at his remorse and guilt was to no avail. It was not that he felt more for this little escapade than he did her. He loved her with all of his heart. He simply wanted, for once, to answer this spider's call and be clear of the uncertainty. Finally. She knew it had plagued him from time to time, the desire to know and see. If he had the money and time, they'd be traveling the globe to the dark places of the earth. They would go to British clubs that did not exist, to the ruined places of Dillman, to ghoulish mortuaries, bizarre taxidermists, and haunted or surreal roadways. And she supported him, of course, at times even pushed him to follow those dreams of discovery. But not this time. No, this time she wanted him home. This time it was his doctor, with the young face, pushing him to get this finally out of his system. Still, though, he nestled deep into the memory of his wife as he made his way under the darkening canopy, intruding on the forest. And the forest welcomed this intruder home. Under the trees on the forest floor, there it begins in the center of it all. On the brown and black dirt, and amidst the roots of the evergreens rising tall, something new is coming. the stars twinkling in their constellations like the discordant eyes of a judgmental audience gazing down upon life's cancerous growth across the planet. And they focus on the singular point that their leader, the moon whose single vacant eye watches uncaring, on this single moment. A buck's carcass is bent and broken upon the ground. From a cursory glance, it would appear that this noble deer has tripped and fallen to its gut. But closer inspection shows the beholder the truth. His legs stick this way and that into the ground and air, while his torso is spread wide open, like a blooming flower of hide. The trickle and spread of his blood slowly creating a crown of petals. His head appearing as if it were biting the ground, eyes open wide as if in shock of the act, but realizing it futile task, for he lacks his bottom jaw. His elegant branching antlers stretching to the sky as if beseeching help from the callous heavens for his foolishness. No answer comes from the sky save the cold wind. Who bites this buck no longer need fear in his death. Ah, but this is birth. For while the sky does not respond, a newborn's answer is preparing. The buck twitches and moves, the flower of hide swaying side to side as the skin spreads the sanguine petals across the dirt and root. The crunch and snap of something making way is muffled by the shelter of the buck's skin. A heavy breath and weep burbles beneath the buck. Bone begins to find its way out from the skin's protection and run free of their home they grew within. The tearing becomes louder and harsher upon the floor, with more room within the buck to let the choir of flesh sing undeterred. It will not be long now. The head rises up, slow and parallel with the ground, the cresting blunt teeth of the top jaw dropping ropes of cooling blood to the floor as the black lifeless eyes rise up to the heavens, accusing them of their dispassion for its end. 5 thin and long digits stretch out from each shoulder of the hide, and columns of red-stained flesh support the buck's ascension. And now the time had come. The mouth beneath the servant's skull swallows. Brown, hungry eyes blink away the rivulets of blood draining down. Crimson-soaked lips part, and from the never-satisfied throat, the wail of the newborn, hungry and primeval, screams into the night. Roar of emotion calls to it, the rage at its ineffable lot in life. Crashing its hands against the bark of a solitary tree, thrashing with all its might against it, as if the trunk had been what made it a victim. The newborn, like so many children, does not know its own strength, and the tree is felled into a jagged, loud mess, like a throne. The newborn's eyes look upon something that makes it forget the rage for a moment. The sheen of black metal reflecting the moon's cold and lamenting gaze. The child's hands reach for it. Then the sound comes from the wood. Recoiling in upon itself, the newborn is now confused, unsure. An intruder, a person, is wandering in their cradle, and ancient mechanisms within the newborn's mind click into place. A simple reptilian spark within its brain that even now was evolving into something far more complex. And the newborn races towards the unwary intruder.